Hello, ladies. Good evening. Aria.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good
How are you
evening.
today?
I'm so honored.
Hi, Elsie.
Thank you.
Hi, Deborah. Hi, Vivian. Welcome to Woman
Thank
Project.
you.
Do not violate me. I'm a woman. Today we are joined with Maria Dos Santos of More Living. We'll be talking about abuse and trauma and how we can heal ourselves. Before we move program or before we start the workshop, I just want to give a shout out to the National Lottery Community Funds, and the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sports for sponsoring our program. We know domestic violence is something that concerns all of us. The national statistics gave some huge figures during the lockdown, and the said and so we know it's a struggle that we need to try and bring it to an end. And today we are joined by Maria Dos Santos, who will be talking about trauma and abuse. Hi, Maria. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Anthony, for having me on today. I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to come with the ladies. And thank you so much, ladies, for joining us, taking the time out of your weekend to join us in this very important session. Glad to meet you all. Thank you so much for having me.
I'll just give the opportunity to the other ladies to introduce themselves. Deborah, can you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, my name is Deborah from Papa. I live in Finland. I'm the founder of Discrimination organization and also Discrimination company.
Thank you so very much. And again, she's a domestic violence activist. She's always fighting to see that the barbarian of taking control over somebody else comes to an end. We are glad to have you on the platform. We know how you vest with this area, and your contribution will be highly appreciated. Thank you. Harriet, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, this is Harriet Robert Inlay.
Amen.
Thank you so very much, Harriet. Harriet is one of our die-hearted volunteers. Wow. Yeah, we can hear you, Harriet. Thank you for all you do for that name women. We don't take it for granted. Hello, BBN.
Hi.
Good to have you on the workshop.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Hello, Elsie. Do you want to introduce yourself, please, for those who don't know you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Elsie. I am the founder of the Tech Ladder here in Leeds.
Thank you so very much. Elsie is also one of our volunteers, and we just want to take this opportunity to appreciate you for all the work you do in relation to that named woman. Thank you.
Welcome.
So Elsie, before Maria joins us back, I know you were the main speaker for our show that we had about 2 weeks ago. That one was we had a proper workshop, but because of the new lockdown restrictions, we decided to take it online. While waiting on Maria to continue from where you stopped, just tell us a little bit about domestic violence and just a little bit on what we discussed our last workshop, please.
you're putting me on the spot here.
Get Maria back on. Nothing so serious. Just the common things about the types of domestic violence. We know a lot of people, they look at domestic violence to involve just the physical, but from what you explained last time in the workshop, you had to look at the other forms of domestic violence. So can you just throw light, please?
Domestic violence is violence that occurs in a household, and it could be violence against children or spousal abuse. And most time when we talk about domestic violence, our mind just go to women. You know that women are the only victims, but women are not the only victims of domestic violence. Men too go through it, and the problem is that men hardly report it, but they do go through it. And we also have children and family members that go through, male and female. And domestic violence could be any form of abuse. It could not just physical. It could be verbal abuse. It could be financial abuse. It could be also be spouses either forcefully intercourse or sex with the partner, or sometimes actually denial of sex. And we also talked about financial control, where men and women will. Yeah, we also talked about financial control, where the person who is in control, either the person might have money or might not be the male source of income, but will control how the person spends money, or even deny the person. An example was what we looked at in our workshop, where the man had money before, was the breadwinner of the house, but he lost his job, and the woman became the breadwinner. And the woman took her children out to get ice cream. And when she returned home, the man got angry and actually threw the money on the.
No, nothing. We just listen to it.
Where the man seized her purse and demanded that going forward, she had to take.
Yeah, we are hearing him. We are here.
Yeah, and she had to take permission from him before she spent money. So what
Hello,
I'm trying to say here, that it does not have to be the breadwinner. Sometimes even the person that is not the breadwinner could actually be abusing the other person financially. And we also talked about isolation, where the abuser might not let the person, like the spouse, I'm not going to say woman, because it could be any form, and will not let the person go out of the house, or restrict the person's movement, or deny the person from visiting friends, or friends visiting that person. So there are many kinds of abuse, and it's just for us to recognize it and know how to help somebody when the person is in that same situation. So is Maria back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Maria, are you back online?
I'm back on. So I'll just carry on from where we left off. Yeah, I'm just gonna carry on from what the sister said. You know, last time that's what we basically spoke about, and we did it to raise awareness. Basically spoke about, so that we could help anyone that we see in that situation, and we'd know exactly how to help. And I'm glad that we're here talking about help. What I do at More Living, I actually encourage individuals to help themselves. And if we can share this information with anyone that is in that position, because the whole thing about abuse or trauma is control taken away from you, right? You have, your boundaries are stripped away from you. So the best way to help, I believe, is to offer the advice on how to self-help. So that's why we're here today. We're going to talk about how we can heal ourselves. And because, like we mentioned, trauma and abuse is such a broad spectrum where you can't really put it in boxes, you can't identify victims, it could be happening to anyone. I thought that it's really important for us to start this workshop and talk about generational trauma. Can you put your hand in the air just so I can see you? If you ever heard of generational trauma, if you've come across this topic before, I just want to see anyone who's already aware of this topic. Okay. All right, ladies. So let's talk about generational trauma. I've got some notes here, so I'm not giving you guys the wrong information. Now, generational trauma, we've had a few studies done here in the UK and in America as well, where they found that actually we are born with mother's trauma in our DNA, and our mother's trauma in our DNA. It's passed on genetically, the same way that you can features and everything else, and attitudes and personalities and all of the good things that we get from our previous generation. We found that there's actually a big study done that we found out that trauma can be passed down, abuse can be passed down genetically, and that's things as if our mothers, for example, if our mothers was going through, okay, so I think we're all African here, African descendant, African here. Let's say some of the examples that things that our mothers could be going through. In my country, personally, we went through colonization, and my mother was a 15-year-old girl who decided to run away from home, to fight for her country. Okay, she wanted to get Portuguese out, so she went out to war and she went to go fight for her country. Now, we can imagine being a 15-year-old girl living in a place where you can't drink from a certain place, you're experiencing discrimination, she was experiencing racism, all this physical, sexual, financial abuse, you name it, being in that system. Now, what I understood from doing my own personal healing work, a lot of the traumas that my mother went through was passed on not only to me, but to my siblings. Now, how is that done? Because it's passed on genetic, it means that a lot of your mother's emotions, hence why nowadays they say when you're pregnant, they say, stay calm. If you're calm, you have a calm baby. Has anyone heard that one before? The midwife will say, if you stress out, the baby will be born stressed. If you are this, it passes on. So our mother's emotions, our mother's undealt emotions, our mother's traumas has passed on to us. That's what I really wanted to start off this workshop and make us aware. So before we even walk into abusive relationships, we are already carrying abuse and trauma from previous generations. We are already born into that. So I'm just going to give my quick examples of traumatic experiences that we can experience through childhood trauma and intergenerational trauma, and how it can have a negative impact on our families. For example, I have here unprocessed emotions and thoughts about a traumatic event. Let's go back to my mother. My mother was in a time where my mother was around in a time where she didn't have any rights. She wasn't allowed to express her emotions, and believe it or not, my mother is 65 years old, and to this day she does not express her emotions. In order for me to be able to get a background history of my mother, I literally had to interrogate her. The more I wanted to learn about myself and understand my history, I was forced to ask her certain questions that she was not comfortable speaking about. Why? Because for so many years, she has oppressed her emotions, whether because that's what she was taught or what society taught her, I'm not sure, but for many years she has oppressed her emotions, especially the ones that cause the trauma, like her losing her family at a young age, being separated from her parents to go to work. These traumatic experiences she has not been able to deal with. Now, I'm not saying that my mother is completely crazy. In fact, she's actually a very religious woman, right? And she believes that she kind of gives everything to God, right? She gives all her problems to God and lets God deal with it. But what my mother didn't realize up until this year is the way that she brought us up, the way that she raised us. Because of her oppressed emotions, she wasn't able to teach us how to have open emotions. Okay, so then I found myself in a position where I was the resemblance of my mother, and not just me, my sisters as well, who are in very similar situations as myself, found ourselves that we also couldn't express. Because if your mother can't express emotions and teach you how to overcome them and get over them and jump those hurdles, how are we supposed to know? So guess what happened to me? I found myself in situations where I was attracting not only other people who were also unable to express their emotions, I found myself actually becoming my mother, unable to express. You know, Emmy's known me for a while now, and she had a birthday party it was last year, and it was the first time actually that I managed to get out and socialize with other friends, and it was really nice. But Emmy noticed me in the corner of the room, and she was like, "Girl, come on, open up." She said, "Open up, come," because I wasn't even comfortable to open up and express in that moment. And imagine now, ladies, that was just a little short example, but now imagine I get into a relationship with someone willingly, as we all do, and I cannot express my emotions. How many of us are getting into in relationships? It doesn't matter whether it's loving ones or friends or work or whatever. How many of us are getting into relationships without being able to be open, without being able to express our emotions? I can't begin to tell you the trauma and the abuse that came from getting into relationships and getting into these because it's unhealthy, right? Getting into unhealthy relationships whilst being unable to express my thoughts and express my trauma. So I really wanted us to be able to understand that the dysfunction that we call abuse is almost born within us, and that is something that our generation tends to ignore and tends to dismiss. But until we address this, until we are fully aware that it's something that is born within us, and then we just attract people and things that confirms with how we feel about ourselves, then we can see change. We have to first understand that it starts with us. I wanted to put forward that most the trauma and abuse that we experience is actually coming from the intergenerational trauma that has been passed down from our previous generation. I hope that I'm not going too fast for you ladies. I'm so sorry. This connection is proving to be quite difficult. I'm just gonna have to turn my camera like this. Can you all still hear me?
Yes, on my side I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, so now I would like, before we talk about move on, I would just like to give a little few details. I've got my notes here of the common types of the childhood trauma. Okay, so I mentioned that my mom went through some things in her time, and then she tried to raise us as well as she possibly could within the consciousness that she had. But let me just explain to you some common types of childhood trauma, and maybe some of you can resonate with me. So the certain things that we can go through as childhood while still living in our parents' home, it's abuse and neglect. I've got here abuse, neglect. Personally, my parents, the neglect part was, my parents, like I said, worked a lot and didn't have the time and didn't have the knowledge on how to meet our emotional needs. Okay, we was fed, we was dressed, we was clean, but no one in that home knew how to address with our emotional needs. Okay, and because we are human, it's very important that we know how to address emotional needs. So that's where the neglect comes in. Family violence. We had great Christmases, but they always ended up with some fights, aunties turning on aunties. So family violence, if you experience that. We have community violence. Growing up in Africa, community violence was just a thing. Okay, it was a thing. Life-threatening accidents and injuries, that could be, you experiencing something traumatic like falling over and breaking your leg or something like that as a child. That is also trauma, especially if unaddressed, especially if your emotional needs was not addressed. That's going to be a big problem. Parental mental illness. Now, again, I will say, as a child, I had no idea that my mom was closed off emotionally, right? I had no idea. I started understanding as I became older. She wasn't huggy, she wasn't very loving in a sense where she'll say, I love you and I understand you. In a sense, she was very cold, but then again, she was coming from a very difficult upbringing, right? In a very difficult society. So, yeah. The other one is loss of a parent. If, for anyone that has experienced that, the loss of a parent or separation of a loved one, that can be a big trauma for a child from anywhere in the planet. Natural disasters or man-made disasters. One of my disasters was having to leave Africa. I think at the time we had a war going on and my parents said, okay, you guys have to go and be safe, stay there, go to England, stay with family, and we stay over here. Now we tend to think that these sacrifices have to be made, and I understand everyone has their own reasons, but what we have to understand is the trauma that leaves behind for the child. Okay, because the child does not understand fully what is going on. It just knows that the parent's leaving, or it just knows that it's leaving the parent. The child eventually will feel neglected and abandoned. Okay, so we have to deal with these things as well. Forced displacement or refugee status. Like I said, we had to leave abruptly. It wasn't planned or anything like that. So it was just coming home and right, pack your bag, going. It was very sudden change. It can be very traumatic for a child. Even for an adult, it can be traumatic. So bearing in mind, for a child, it's going to be double the impact. Other one that I have here is discrimination and extreme poverty, which I can speak for myself. I've experienced. Okay, now this is all coming from, personally, from my perspective, this is all coming from my childhood back in Africa. This is what was happening in my home. Okay, now let me tell you something. When I came here to the UK, I came here when I was 7 years old. Believe it or not, what I did was attract almost everything that was going on back home. I managed brilliantly to attract it to me in this lifetime, even though I wasn't living the same my brothers and sisters was living back home, even though I was in a world of opportunities, even though I was literally safe, physically safe, in a better condition. The mind had no idea, because why? The mind, unless you have control over the mind will choose to stay in a trauma state. It will choose to stay in a trauma state, choose to believe that it's still in the trauma phase, and it will therefore attract everything back into your life. And that is basically how it works. There's a saying here, and I opened this up. I opened this up so I could share with you ladies about this, okay? There's a saying here by a famous holistic psychologist. It says, an unresolved trauma makes us seek romantic partners to repair our parental relationships. Okay? We engage in fixing or saving, even if all the red flags are there, because guess what? The red flags feel like home. Okay? So, again, why am I saying all this, ladies? I am saying this because I would like us to be aware, and I would like us to make anyone who is in this situation aware that, hey, you know what? This has nothing to do with what's going on the outside. This is the war is within. It's that famous African proverb that we've all heard before. If there is no war within, there can't be a war without. So we have to remind ourselves, and I think to myself, and this is how I managed to heal myself, I had to remind myself that the war was within. It was up here. I had to gain control of the mind. How do we get control of the mind? We get control of the mind by living in the now. Why? Why was it that I attracted all of the things that I left back home? Why did I attract it here, miles, thousands of miles away? Why? Because my mind was still back home. Things only changed when I learned to live in the now. What does living in the now mean? It means that you need to take control of your life. And that is very difficult, because the first time someone told me that, I was like, what? You're telling me this is my fault? I felt like they were saying it was my fault. And I was going through abuse because I was allowing it. I felt targeted. I felt triggered. But in all truth, yes, I made myself open to abuse because of how I treated myself. I'm going to ask you ladies a few questions. How often do we criticize ourselves? Put your hands up in the air if you criticize yourself. Let's say things like, oh, let's talk about weight. Every woman talks about weight. Oh, I'm too big, I'm too small. My hair's this. I don't fit in. How many times do we criticize ourselves? Put your hands up if you criticize yourself. I didn't do this right. I could have done this better. Let's keep it real. Because you see, the thing about healing trauma, you have to first keep it real. That's why so many of us do this thing where we find ourselves in repeated same situations over and over and over again. I personally know someone who was in an abusive relationship, but she just came out of one, jumped straight into another one, came out of that one, jumped straight into another. You've ever seen that? That is somebody not taking responsibility of their own energy. That is someone not taking responsibility, not being real with themselves. Put your hand up if you criticize yourself. Now, look in the mirror and look at your first abuser. It's you. Why? Because who said criticizing helps? Who said criticizing is self-love? Who said that? Your intergenerational trauma said that. Our culture says that. Ladies, when it's time for us to heal and take responsibility over our energy, we have to question everything. I love my mother so much, but I had to question her whole parenting. I had to question everything she believes in. I had to question my culture. I had to question everything. You know why? Because I learned that actually our culture, as beautiful as it is, don't get me wrong, ladies, but there is so many unhealthy traits in our culture that we call normal today. There is so much. You know, my family will go to Angola. I'm from Angola. My family will go to Angola and they'll come back and they'll say, my God, we went to the market and the men will just slap the bum. If they like what they see, they will touch it. Even if the girl is young. In my country, on Friday nights, they call it the young lady night because all of the men go out for the younger ones. The young ones have to be 14. They have to be teenagers. They are the ones the men are chasing. And it's a norm. It's disgusting. It's unhealthy. And there is so many unhealthy traits that we have that we call normality. So, ladies, I urge you, please, to look at our culture, look at our upbringing. Take the good, keep the good, but the bad, you must throw it away. You must throw it away, because guess what? We cannot pass that down to the future generation, because now we know that they already, if we have children, you must know that they already have those traits. I see the traits in my daughters. So it's up to us to make that change. Another one that I wanted to, another quote that I wanted to share with you ladies about generational trauma is this one. It says, every single person you meet in this world is either repeating a cycle of generational trauma or carrying the burden of having to break those cycles. Why am I saying you're going to have a burden when you're trying to break the cycles? Because guess what? If you really want to heal yourself, it's going to start with breaking the cycles. We're going to have to make healthy changes. We're going to have to make, and those healthy changes are going to mean that you're going to have to do things differently. You're going to have to put the love that you needed as a child. You're going to have to create a healthy relationship, first of all, with your inner child. Because your emotions, when you're angry, when you're sad, when you get really OTT, over the top, all of that emotion, that is the inner child. It's screaming inside of you. And that's when you let it out. The thing we have to do when we want to heal and overcome is create a healthy relationship with your inner child. Give it a name. I don't care. Give it a name. Ask the inner child, what did you need? What did you need? What can I do for you now? Because out here, you're the adult now. The inner child in here, in your heart, in your soul, you need to ask, what do you need? And what can I do for you? Because when you was a child, you was unable to. But now you are an adult. You can be there for your inner child. You can create a healthier relationship with your inner child. But yes, it's going to be a burden because you're going to have to change things up. You're going to have to step out of the norm. You're going to have to change your diet. You're going to have to change your lifestyle. You're going to have to take care of your body. Put respect into your body. How do we put respect into your body? Well, you nurture it. So we already decided and we already sussed out that we are a #1 abuser because of the criticizing that we do. How else are we abusing ourselves? Let's see. The body is a temple. I like to think that we are all religious ladies and we are God-fearing women. The body is the temple. How are we looking after our body? Are we giving it water? Are we giving it fruits and veg? Does these things matter? Of course. A healthy body is a healthy mind. how can we make those changes ourselves? We can do little things by incorporating tiny changes in the day. Yesterday I didn't drink no water. Today I'm gonna drink a glass of water. And I'm gonna thank God for this glass of water. Tomorrow I'll have 2 glasses of water. It's about us having this commitment. Instead of that commitment of saying, I came from this, I came from a mess, I came from trauma, change up the commitment. Change the commitment into loving yourself and providing yourself with the care and the love and the emotional needs that you needed from childhood. And I guarantee that when we make these changes, that when we put ourselves first, literally, and I mean first, and I'm going to say something funny now, before the children, you have to come first. Before the husband, you come first. Why am I saying this? Because you cannot, my mother couldn't be a good mother to me. Because she didn't put her wellness first. I grew up watching a broken woman. Strong as hell, don't get me wrong. But a broken woman, why? Because she couldn't put herself first. She had to put herself first. She had to put her emotional needs first so she could teach me how to do it. So when I say forget the children, I'm not saying neglect them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying take it out of our heads where we are here for everybody else and then us. No. Once again, that mentality where we are here for everybody except ourselves, it comes from slavery. It comes from colonization. It comes from oppression. Never in the universe, a good mother was the one where she did nothing for herself, only for the kids. How could that woman be possibly good? She was serving from an empty cup. How can we serve from an empty cup, ladies? Our cups have to be full. We have to fill a cup. We have to, you know what I decided to do? In the morning before everyone else wakes up, I wake up first. Then I do my meditation. I do my breathing work. I do my yoga. And then I will deal with the kids. But first, me, this here is taken care of. Then I will go deal with my son and his annoying ways. Then I will go deal with my daughter and her persistent ways. I will have the strength to do it. I will have the patience to do it because I took care of myself first. It's about making those sacrifices, ladies. It's about, you know, when I say a burden, I go back to saying you're going to have a burden. It will be a burden. Healing yourself will be a burden because it's going to change your whole lifestyle. Like I said, question our culture. Question everything about our culture. Keep the beautiful stuff because there is so much of it. Keep the beautiful stuff, but question everything else. Because once you do, and once you start healing, you will change. You will adapt new techniques. You will, even the communication with your children will change. The communication with yourself will change. Everything, surprisingly, even the circle of your friends will change. It will be so deep. It's going to be brilliant because you're going to see, wow, I was living in a box before. Keeping what was comfortable for my trauma. Eating to feel happy. That's what I did. And I speak about myself, ladies. Please don't ever think, when I get on camera, I'm always talking about myself because I don't want anyone to feel targeted. I'm not here to make anyone feel targeted. I want to share my story and I want to be brave enough to say it. Yes, I ate. I was 22 stone. I ate to feel good. I did. I ate to feel good. When nothing around me was making me feel good, ooh, get that tub out and just eat it. I did it. I did it. The thing is, my ladies, We will have to make those changes. We will have to make those changes. We will have to put back the love in ourselves that we were supposed to be given from young. We have to go back to the baby state. The baby comes into this world, just wants to live, just wants to be free. It's not worried, doesn't have anxiety, doesn't have depression. The baby just wants to live, just wants to be free. Everything went wrong for us when we went into our homes and we got told what we was going to be. We got the pressure on top of us. We had to hide what was going on inside the house. We had to become something that we are not. That's when things go wrong, and that's when we attract abuse and trauma. Anywhere you go, work, relationship, anywhere you go, you have to strip everything off, all of the beliefs of who we think we are. The criticism has to stop. It's the number one thing that you have to stop. Because criticism is the gasoline on the fire. We need water to put the fire out. We need to talk to ourselves nicely. We need to say, you know what? You did your best. That's the best you've got. You did it. Well done. You look great. You feel great. You are great. I am great. I had to stand in the mirror and talk to my inner child. I did it for 30 days in a row. And I would advise any lady who is wanting to make that change, 30 days in a row. I spoke to myself in the mirror. I said, what can I do for you today? I love you. I really love you. What can I do for you today? And guess what? The first day made me feel sick to my stomach because I didn't mean what I was saying. So I felt like I was lying to myself. I didn't love myself. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror, my goodness sake. I used to walk around my house avoiding to see myself in the mirror, you know, walk past it quickly. Only look at it when you're cleaning it. And I had to stand in front of them and say, I love you. I really love you. What can I do for you today? On the 15th day, it started to feel good. After day 30, I lost 2 stones. And I didn't even know what I was doing. It was because I was just picking up the apple. I was just picking up whatever was fresh or whatever. The mind is so strong, ladies, so powerful. Please believe. When you treat yourself right, you will automatically do what's right for yourself. It's autopilot. Just like it's autopilot for us to abuse ourselves when we are, to find abuse when we are abusing ourselves. Do you think the self-criticism just started now? We have been self-criticizing since we was young. My mother was like, hey, you never do anything right. Didn't I tell you, pick up this thing, you don't do it. We've been doing it from such an early age. Make it stop. Look in the mirror, says, I am beautiful and everybody loves me. Difficult things to say, but I promise you they make a change. It's what is the fuel to make that drastic change. Is how we talk to ourselves, is the communication, is the relationship that we build with ourselves, with our inner child. Okay? Understanding that we come from hardships, understanding that it happens, we're not the only ones, but it's about us accepting that we can make a change. I think acceptance is really important. Hey, Auntie Emmy, are we still okay to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah, but before you continue, there is Bell Sunki said they were groomed to endure and a norm to emulate. I think it was when you were talking to accepted as children, and we need to heal in order to stop the cycle.
Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat that again? My camera is really, my microphone is really low.
Oh, that's fine. I was just commenting on what
Yeah, I
Belle
see.
Sonke wrote. She wrote, they were groomed to endure and enormed to emulate. I think it was when you were talking about childhood happenings and how to heal from them and know in order to heal. Lost Maria again.
I'm here, back again, sorry.
From what okay, that's fine. It's all right.
I can see the comments here. Yes, they were groomed to endure and the norm to emulate. I like that. Yeah. Yes, so yeah. Groomed, literally. Groomed to endure abuse, right? But we don't know it, right? We don't know it. We're walking, we're doing our lives. We're meeting random people, and we just think, it's normal, but we don't understand that there is a cycle that's taking place, right? And unfortunately, we are a part of that cycle. The best example that I can use, and I love this one. It's in the animal kingdom, right? When the lioness goes to hunt, right? Or the lion goes to hunt. The lion is not going to waste its effort on the strong antelope, the one that can run fast. Is not going to do it. The lion or the lioness, they wait to see which one is weak, which one is slow, which one is sick, which one is easy to grab. It's the same out there. There is lions and lionesses out there, and they can sense she's broken, she's alone, she's lonely, she's desperate. All of this is energy. If the animals can do it from miles away, and sometimes the lion is literally miles away, he can sense these energies, can see. What makes you think that humans can't do that? We can see when something's wrong. Even we women, when something's wrong, we can see, innit? From far. The predators out there can see it also. So it's important that we cleanse. It's important that we don't have none of these energies out there, because you want to attract something that is equivalent to you. You want to attract strong, right? If you're strong, you want to attract strong. If you're wise, you want to attract wise. If you are brave, you want to attract brave. If you are solid and grounded in your foundation, you want to attract something that is solid and grounded in their foundation, right? You don't want to be the prey. That is the thing here. You don't want to be the prey. You want to stand out from that crowd. You really do. And the only way to do it now is what we're going to do. We're going to jump straight into it. Okay? We're going to jump into making those changes. So we already spoke about mirror work. We spoke about getting up in the morning and just facing yourself in the mirror and saying awkward things like, I love you. I really, really love you. What can I do for you today? If you have a pen and paper where you can write this down, please write this down. I love you. I really love you. What can I do for you today? I actually used to write it down on a piece of paper, and I used to just stick it on the mirror. So every time I got I used to have that one, and I am beautiful and everybody loves me. Okay? Why am I saying these affirmations? Because we've been self-criticizing, because society's been criticizing us as well. Let's say, especially as Black women, let's say it, guys. Let's say it. We're criticized by society. We're criticized in our homes. We criticize ourselves. It's just messy. We need to be nice to ourselves. So these little notes that we can leave for ourselves can make a really big difference, because it can change the perspective of our mind. And that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to change our perspective. Okay? So I would definitely advise the ladies to write down these affirmations and say it until it feels real, until it feels good. Okay? The thing about, every therapist will tell you, the thing about self-healing, once you do decide that you want to take that into your control, and that you want to heal from past traumas and generational traumas, the thing about it is that you're going to have to fake it until you make it. It's a saying actually in therapy. I'm sure you ladies have heard this before. You have to fake it until you make it. Why? Because for some of us, we have been living in a trauma state for years, 20 years, 25, over 30 years. You're not going to get the change in a week. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to fake it until you make it. And I mean, you're going to have to stand in front of that mirror and smile. I love you. I really love you. What can I do for you today? Fake it until you make it. And I promise you, the more repeated affirmations you do, the more your subconscious mind will record it, and it will start believing it, and you will start then acting according to it. That is a change. That is where the change comes from. So the affirmation, the note on the mirror, perfect. The other one that I really like is waking up in the morning and saying or writing down. I would advise to write down when you're first starting out 10 things that you love. 10, 15 things, however much you can write. If you don't mind, just offer it. 100 if you want, but just 10 things that you love. Why am I focusing on the 10 things that you love? Because you are now taking control of yourself, and that means that you are taking control of your day. You're taking control of your day, your life, your week. Everything is in your control now. So you have to control how the day goes with God's grace. Right? You have to control that. So you write 10 things that you love, so that your mind goes into a loving state, right? So that you can then produce more loving energy during the day. Okay? If you focus on what you want to attract during the day, that is exactly what you want to attract. So if you're trying to attract self-love for yourself, your inner child, your family, your kids, it's important that in the morning you create that. You have to create that in the morning, during the day, at break time, lunchtime, whatever. Find a space, find a corner where you can come back and connect to your body and your mind, and then express what you want to create. I love spending time with the kids. I didn't really. When I was writing this down, I was like, oh God, I love spending time with the kids. I love watching a movie with the kids. I love spending time with my husband. My husband loves spending time with me. All of the complaints that I had and the criticism that I had in my head, I switched it over from negative into positive. And I started saying this to myself. And what I found is that the more I said those positive things to myself, the more energy I personally had to create positive situations in the home, right? Because if I'm feeling down and out and depressed, my home is gonna resemble my energy. So I had to find ways to create a positive energy in my home, and in order to do that, it was writing down that list in the morning before I start my day. I love taking my dog out for a walk, or whatever it is. I love listening to music, I love dancing, and whatever it is. And I found that when I was doing that, and I started dancing, I started doing the things that I love, because you wrote it down, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna put music on, I'm gonna dance. Next thing you know, your partner's walking past and he sees you dancing, and you smile, and it's creating a completely different vibe to what we had yesterday. Because ladies, guess what? You are not powerless. You are not powerless. You can create the life you want, because God gave you free will. Okay, He made you powerful. He was like, okay, I'm God, but you have free will to do what you gotta do whilst you're here. What else do we want? You have the power to create the happy home. You have the power to create the stability. You have the power to create the healthy diet, the healthy regime. You have all the power within you. God's already given it to you. It's called experience. And even our bad experiences, we can use them as tools to make them into positive experiences. Because guess what? Without your bad experiences, how would you know you needed better? How would you know you needed more? How would you know that you deserve better than this? You wouldn't. You needed the bad stuff to happen so that you'd know that, wait a minute, I'm more than this. I am more. I can do more. I can be more. I can achieve more. I can be my full potential. That's what it's all about. So when I say you have the power to create, these little tools are going to help you along the way, because guess what? You're creating new ideas, new understandings, new perspectives, new ideologies, new beliefs. Okay? That is what we're doing, because anything that we believe today is because it's been repeated to us over and over and over and over again. You know, this is how this country that we live in, they can get us to buy things that we don't even need. How many of us buy things that we don't even need? But they put it in our faces so many times. Eventually you end up going out and getting it because it's repeated. If you repeat anything to yourself, it's going to become. So repeat good things. Take care of your inner child. It's your responsibility to look after that inner child, provide that inner child with everything that it needed from the beginning, and create a different life, create a different experience, because you have power to do that. Another way that is really beneficial for us to be able to create. Yeah.
Maria.
Yeah.
Before you continue, I just want us to look at a comment. I'll say.
Yeah, I can see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Don't you think the 21st century woman is still in that cycle? How can we get them out of that cycle? I know you're talking about to heal, you need to break the cycle.
Yeah, I can see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. 21st century women are definitely still in the cycle. I mean, it's quite hard to come out of a cycle if things haven't changed that much. It's not that long ago as women that we was asking for equality. It's not that long ago as women that we was asking for our rights. It's to this day, I know that we women have the ability here in the West, we have the ability to be vocal, but we do not have power in the infrastructure that is in society. Rwanda is actually one of the only countries that have 50% of women in parliament. 50% of women in parliament. Now that is brilliant. You tell me now anywhere else in the world where we have that number. It's still a very man world, you know. So the 21st century women are going through that cycle, but at the same time we have the blessing of having information. We are currently going through a stage where women are finding their freedom. We now don't really need men to make money. So it's all about networking. And young women, I don't necessarily say ourselves, but I say young women don't have the pressure that we personally had back in the days. A young person can become financially independent quite easily nowadays. Whether it's men or women. And because the world is becoming more about networking, women are naturally better than men at networking. We have that advantage. But because a lot of us have not dealt with our traumas, a lot of us have not dealt with our personal issues, we kind of don't know what to do with this power that we've just found. Okay? And we are kind of going through a phase, I believe, where women, for the first time, have so much power, they've kind of lost the sense of the femininity trait. We are becoming more and more masculine. And I don't say that it means we're not putting on makeup or anything. No, we're putting on makeup, but because we are the leaders of the homes, we are developing more masculine traits. And I think that is what a lot of men are nowadays struggling with, because we have become determined, aggressive, go-getters. You know, we have become more masculine than over the time. So I personally don't think that is good, because I believe in a natural balance, just like, you know, God intended for that to be female and that to be male. I believe that we can both have equality, but it's important that we keep our feminine energy, that we keep our feminine traits. It helps to be mothers. It helps to be nurturers, right? That's what we're here to do. So we're nurturers, so it helps. But at the moment, yeah, we are kind of going through this overdrive of masculinity in women, and it's not necessarily helping things, because yes, now we are kind of on top, but we are having to push our men down. We will truly only win when we are both on the same level, or if we are, you know, working together to keep us up, you know, men and women. But yeah, so 21st century women, yes, definitely. And the cycles, we're still in the cycle, and that's why we're becoming, you know, masculine. So yeah, we need to break those cycles. We need to be empowered but still remain feminine. So yeah. There's another one here. Despite the 60% empowerment in the Rwandese, women is still a victim of patriarchy at home. Exactly. I am of the opinion that we need to find ourselves, because policies will not change our mindset if we do not want to. Yeah, it's if everyone can see the comment there, it's not. That's what I'm saying. If there is no balance in the masculine and the feminine energies, the male and the female, if there is no balance, then we will never be okay, I'm afraid. We will never come away from these cycles, because, like I said, women have found this new freedom that the internet has given us. We can create businesses, we can multitask, we can do so much nowadays. We found our personal freedom. At the same time, because men have treated us the way they have treated us over centuries, we kind of like, you know, when you get yourself together, you're like, you know what? Now I'm gonna shit on you. Now I'm gonna, you know, and that's where the energy is right now. You know, you done me so wrong. Now I'm gonna do you wrong because I'm in a position to. I pray, however, that this will pass, because again, if you look at structure of society and you look at history, it was inevitable for us to get here. Men, unfortunately, did a lot of wrong towards women for centuries. So it was inevitable that soon there would be empowered daughters on earth. Soon there would be a retaliation. This retaliation was inevitable. I do believe that it won't last long. I do believe that we will learn our lessons, and we will understand that together, man and woman is much more productive than this whole competition that is going on at the moment, which is just very, very toxic, may I say. And it's creating this very toxic family foundation, where we are raising more children in trauma and more children in abuse. So that's where we are today. That is where we are today. Competition between the masculine and the feminine. And let's see what the future brings. Let's see what the future brings. Sorry, I've been talking for quite a minute.
Yeah, go on, Maria. You were saying something.
Yeah. Sorry, ladies. I've been talking for quite a while. I would just like to hear some of your perspective on some of the things that I've shared so far before I go into the rest of the exercises that we can do to improve our health. If I could hear any of your perspective on the conversation, that would be great. The burden of marriage working is on the woman. A good woman builds her home, they say. So the woman endures abuse and stays silent so she's not seen as bad. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments now. Yeah, Elsie's on point. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Sorry, guys. I was just reading the comment. Elsie is on point. We have to go through so much. Like, just to be seen, just to not be seen as a bad woman. Again, where is that mentality coming from? Where is that mentality coming from, ladies? Isn't it culture? Let me tell you something about my dad. I come from a polygamist family. My dad's a polygamist, but my mom doesn't really see it that way. So I have 20 odd brothers and sisters from different marriages, okay, from different mothers. And my mom, when I was young, I used to think, oh my goodness, you know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't be with a man that has other wives, and when he's not home, I know where he is. You know, that's horrible for me. But then I grew up in the West, you know, I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, this is not happening to me. And I found it so weird that my mother kind of just, it was as if it wasn't happening. But remember, guys, I did tell you that my mother wasn't connected to her emotions, right? My mother never expressed any anger towards it. She never, it was just surreal because she made it seem like it was normal. Now, I personally feel like that is not normal. I believe that, you know, two people should stay in a monogamous relationship. But it's just to show you again that when we was at family's events, you know, my mother would basically talk about my dad like he was this great man. And I'm sure in her eyes and in my eyes, I get to see the good in him now. But everyone was just looking at her like, baby girl, are you okay? Are you aware what's happening? Are you aware what the streets are saying? But she was determined to play the good woman, right? She was determined to play that role, to play the good role. And for a long time as well, I was, and my sisters was. It was passed down. You know, we was in situations where we shouldn't have been in a situation, but you know, my mom stuck it out, so I'm gonna stuck it out because that's what you do when you love someone, right? So question our culture, guys. Question. I'm not saying abandon it. I'm not saying turn away from it. I will repeat, take what's good, because there's a lot of good. I believe that the African culture is the most beautiful culture in this planet. Take what's good from it, but question a lot of who you are. Is it who you are, or is it just culture? When you came out of your mom's belly, did you have these beliefs? Did you think that these things was okay? Or did you learn that they were okay? I learned to be passive. I learned to be abused. And I learned that it was okay. Deal with it and never do anything about it. You know, and that's why I really asking you ladies, please question everything. Question your beliefs. Question what they're showing you on TV. Question what mom said. Question everything. because you have the ability to use your own brain. You have the ability to get your own clarity. Okay, I'm honest. I told you about my mom and my dad because, you know, in my eyes, I always saw my dad as a cheater, right? I don't give a damn what my mom saw. I saw a man that cheated over and over again and never had time for me. Okay, that's all I know. That's all I know. And guess what I attracted into my life? Guess what I attracted into my life? I attracted a cheater. I attracted the absent man. The same thing my mom did. This happens over and over again, and I am not the only one. I am not the only one, because your mind is powerful. That's why they want you at school at 4 years old, because they know how powerful your mind is. Your mind is powerful. Everything that it consumes, it stays there like a sponge. It holds on, literally. And I attracted the same experiences as my mother. And I thought it was okay. You know? It's not. It's not. So what I say to you ladies is this: make that choice, make that decision to heal, to overcome. And I promise you, even your abuser will either do two things. It will either leave you alone, or it will change with you. Let me tell you, when I mean that is possible, I mean it is possible. When you make those changes, when you start treating yourself better, yes, you may lose some. You may lose some friends. You may lose a sense of your reality, because people will be like, she thinks she's too good now. She doesn't drink tap water, only drinks bottled water, you know. Because back in the days, remember, you had no boundaries, right? I had no boundaries. So I let people tell me what to do. I like what everybody liked. So you have to understand that when you start taking care of yourself and when you start creating a healthy relationship, you will create boundaries for yourself. You will say, I accept this. I don't accept that. You will say, I like this. You will know your likes. You will know yourself. Because right now, it's like when you're going through the trauma state, when you're in trauma state and abuse state, you're everywhere and nowhere. This one likes that song. I like that song too, because guess what trauma does? It makes us people pleasers. It makes us people pleasers. So you like that? Oh, I like that too. No. You know, you have no sense of self. So when you develop that healthy relationship with yourself, when you start becoming connected with your mind, your body, you will say, okay, I'm okay with this. And you will be okay with saying, I'm not okay with that. And you're going to find yourself having to say that to some friends, to some family, and say, you know what? I know I used to do this before, but you know what? I'm not okay with that now. And situations and people around you will change. But let me tell you something. You will also have those people that will grow with you. You will also have those people that will respect your boundaries. You will also have those people that will actually encourage you to have boundaries. Encourage your change. Myself personally, I then went through a thing where I met Emmy. It was crazy because I just moved to a new place, a new area. I met Emmy. You start meeting people who are in the same vibration as you. Let's go back to the animal kingdom. I was no longer the weak, abused little girl. So at that point, I was also meeting other women who were sure of themselves. It's simple. My partner became sure of himself. My partner started doing what I was doing. He started doing yoga. He started doing running. He started doing sport. He was seeing the changes and he wanted some. Of course, that's what we humans do, innit? You see someone do something good, you want some. And it's about, but I had to take control. I had to say, you know what? This is my life. I accept my wrongs. I accept my past. It's okay, but I can make a better tomorrow. So now, before I jump again, I'm going to ask you ladies to try one thing. Try and get out of your mind as much as you can. The best way for you to heal, and whilst you are letting go of old beliefs, old indoctrination, old parental rules and whatever we had in our home, whatever, whilst you're letting go of that, get out of your mind. I would not be a good friend or a good holistic coach if I said to you guys, you don't need to work out. You need to work out. Moving the body is the only way you can get out of the mind. That's why it feels great. Let's be honest, guys. Nobody wants to make that journey to the gym or even come downstairs in the morning and start that work. Nobody wants to. England is cold. In the morning it's cold. Nobody wants to, but I promise you, everybody knows that once it's done, you feel amazing. Everybody knows this. It's for a reason, guys. You can't keep ignoring your body and say, oh, I'm looking after myself, I treat myself well. You can't do it. You're abusing your body by not giving it the exercise that it needs. You are abusing yourself again. And I'm not asking you guys to become an athlete. I swear, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, you know what? Leave the dishes, they can wait. Go for a walk. Go to the forest and just walk. Put your headphones on, listen to your favorite music and walk. Do yoga, do something new, something easy, breathe, dance. Here at home, we love to dance. As long as the heart is beating. You know, it's about taking our responsibility. And I cannot say to you ladies that exercise is not important, because it is. It is. It's how you treat yourself will determine how others treat you. You treat yourself like shit, I'll treat you like shit too. Come on, that's how the world works. Why do we try to lie to ourselves when it comes to doing things that we don't want to do? But yet we expect other people to take good care of us. And we're not taking good care of ourselves, but somebody that comes into our life is supposed to take good care of us. It's not gonna be like that. It's about making small changes, ladies, about taking your life into your making it your responsibility. As women, as business, as entrepreneurs, as mothers, we try to control everything on the outside. Are the kids okay? The kids got this, the house okay, I've gone to shopping, have I done this, have I done that, have I done it? We try to control everything on the outside. I'm asking you to stop. I'm asking you just to control what's going on in here. Feeling anxious? Go for a walk. Feeling tired? Feeling tired and stressed out? Listen to some classical music. Feeling bored? What is it? Take care of yourself. It's your responsibility. Put a funny movie on. The thing about this thing, guys, is that we have to know ourselves so well that we know what makes us feel good. We know how to the medicine that we need. Okay? So I'm just gonna leave that with you guys. That was 3 things. That was notes, little notes. Write down little notes. I love you. I really love you. How can I help? How can I help you today? How can I do something for you guys today? That's one. Write it down. Put it in the mirror. The second thing, affirmations. Write a list of the things you love, what you love about yourself. In the morning, before you go to bed, it takes 2 minutes for you to write a small list. Oh, I love watching romantic movies. I love Bollywood movies. I love Indian movies. Put everything you love into that list, and then Make sure that your day, it goes according to the list. Number 3, get out of your mind and work out. Eat good. Okay, ladies, because you deserve it. You really do. The best of the best, you guys deserve it. We do. We deserve it. So that's where I'm going to leave it with you guys today. I appreciate you so much for joining us, and I'm sorry about the connection. I hope you guys enjoyed this session. And yes, thank you so much, Emmy. My kids all call her Auntie Emmy, so I have to call Auntie Emmy as well. Thank you, Auntie Emmy, for having me on. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much.
Eric, thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you, Emmy.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thanks a lot for enlightening us. From what we're saying, I understand. We talk about abuse, only thinking it's coming from an extended source, an external source. But from what you've been saying, I can clearly say whatever happens to you is what you allow. And if we don't take care of ourselves, it means we are abusing ourselves. So as women, we'll try to break the cycle. We'll try to be kind to ourselves. We'll try to treat us the way we treat the people we love. We'll try to heal, break the cycle. We'll try to be positive. We'll try to tell ourselves those things that we like to say to other people.
Yeah.
That's
Amen.
very important, because as you said, because we have to give from an empty cup. In order to take care of those people, you need to fill your cup. So when you think about abuse, don't only look at somebody having total control over you. Sometimes if you neglect yourself, it means you are abusing yourself. Thank you so much, Maria, for bringing this through. Abuse, trauma, and for teaching us how we can heal ourselves from them. Thank you, Maria. It was a pleasure to have you on platform. And for those who want to follow Maria Dos Santos, you can find her on Instagram as More Living, and on her website www.moreliving.org. Maria, we hope to have you in subsequent, because with holistic approach, you are just the best. Thank you for life. Thank you so very much, ladies. We apologize for net connection, and we hope next time it will be good. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.